Hey, who was that fat guy on that gantry? You see that? Welcome everybody to the Hobby CNC with Dave show. Let me bring in my sidekick Ryan here. He's joining us tonight. How you doing, Ryan? Okay, he must have a sound muted. And also we've got returning from last week. We've got Mr. Paul Corliss. How you doing, Paul?
Good, good. Thanks for having me on again.
All righty. Let's bring. He's the rookie for tonight. He hadn't been on this show, but I know he's been on some other shows. How you doing, Alan?
I'm doing well. Hope you are. It's a great Saturday night.
I am. We are going to talk about the exciting topic of homing your machine. I'm going to try to make it as exciting as I can. I do have some other stuff. We'll just kind of see where the conversation goes when we get started talking about this. There's no set structure. I've got some notes jotted down, and we'll see what kind of questions we get. And we'll see how it goes from there. All right, Roy's saying we're getting an echo, so I don't know what that's from. We'll keep an eye on that and see. Let me see if I can edit these settings here. Yeah, let me bring this down a little bit. All right, let's see. Let me know if that you still hear your echo out there. I've edited some mic settings here. No, that one looks good. Okay. I don't know where Ryan went. All right, he'll be back, I'm sure. Anyway, we're going to be doing another giveaway tonight, so I thought I'd be nice and give you all a heads up. Tonight's giveaway is once again going to be sponsored by Cadence Manufacturing and Design. Cody has graciously offered up another Jenny bit. And I'll even give you the hashtag for when we do the drawing later, so y'all can go ahead and put it in now or wait or whatever. But the hashtag will be hashtag downtown. And you might have a clue that we will be giving away a downtown Jenny, which is, let me get this back over here. Where did I put it? Here it is. We're going to be giving away one of these beauties tonight. And I have, Cody sent me a downtown Jenny and then I guess the regular Jenny, which is the compression bit. I haven't tried the other one, but I have tried the downtown Jenny, and it works really sweet. Nice smooth surface and all that. Let me bring Clyde. Clyde's showing up here. How you doing, Clyde?
How you doing?
He's like me. He's bundled up. Here I am in Georgia, and we're supposed to have a frost warning. Supposed to get down in the 30s, so that's why I'm all bundled up out here, because it's starting to cool off pretty quick since the sun went down. But alrighty, I see. Yeah, we're getting some downtowns in there. Good. Yeah, just make sure you put it just like it is there. Hashtag downtown. And we'll be doing the drawing a little bit later. I think somebody must have YouTube or something on. I'm hearing an echo here. It might be you, Clyde. Yeah, I think that's coming from Clyde. All right, so we're going to talk about homing. Let me first ask. Well, I actually got a couple of questions. We got bunch of people in here already, and I may ask this again later. But I got two questions I want to ask just for my own benefit here, my own curiosity. How many people that are watching here tonight have a 3D printer? If you have a 3D printer, just put yes or something in the chat. Paul, I know you have one. I know Ryan has one right over his shoulder there.
Turn my audio off.
Okay. Clyde, you don't have one, I don't think, right? No 3D printer?
Dave, I have one and I use it often.
Oh, okay. So Alan has one. Okay. So a lot of people have them then. I had a couple of them, used them for a little bit and then kind of got tired of it. And then I got rid of both of them. And now I'm kind of wishing I had one again. So let's see what the verdict is. Let's see. Paul says yes. There's a yes. Another yes. Yes. Yeah. Looks like 3DHP says I have a lot. Dave Krause, Dave Mack has some. Okay. Looks like pretty much everybody has one. Larry Galt has one. Jim Sinicola. Troy says no, but I want one. Okay. All right. So a lot of 3D printer owners out there in the chat. That's good to know. Okay. Now my next question is there anybody out there that uses software called Design Spark Mechanical for whether it be their woodworking, their 3D printing? It's the Design Spark Mechanical you can use to create 3D models. Is anybody familiar with that? Well, I'll wait a couple of seconds, see if anybody chimes in on that. I just recently discovered that software, and I think I've mentioned it before, either on this show or I might have done it during the coffee sessions. I don't know. But apparently it's been around for a while because I've seen YouTube videos as old as 2014. So that's, 7 or 8 years. But I recently saw somebody mention it and I looked it up, and there's a ton of tutorials on YouTube. Some, like everything else, some of them pretty good, some of them not so good. But the cool thing is it's free. Now it does have when you first open it, there's like a thing of ads, but you can easily just click X and X out of that. But it's really some pretty cool stuff. So I was just wondering, I don't see anybody saying, okay, there we do. We have one person says Design Sparks, yes. Okay, and I guess from what I understand, that it is the baby brother of that one that Bart Bixel was talking about that day, Space Claim or something, which is like super high dollar stuff. So I guess this is kind of the low end, and like I said, it's free. So I might try to do some stuff with that, either videos or maybe even show it here on the live sometime if anybody would be interested in that. So, all right, let's talk about homing. Ryan, tell me everything you know about homing. Do you home your machine?
Yes, I do, actually. I home my machine to a specific spot on the back of the machine so that I know where I'm going for zero at the front.
Okay. So you say the back of the machine, is it back right, back left, back center?
Yeah, I do back right.
Back right? Okay. Well, what a winky dink, because I have one that I do back right as well. Paul, what say you? I think you have a Onefinity. They're all
Yep.
they all home
I have a Onefinity, and on the screen, when you first turn it on, it says, "Do you want to home the machine?" You hit yes, and it brings it up to the front left corner.
Okay. All right. And what about you, Clyde?
I right rear,
Right
plus,
rear?
yeah, X plus, Y plus. I did that on purpose because then I can set my job up out of the way.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm
It
surprised
was in the
because
negative then.
I thought I was one of the few people that home my machine to the right rear, and now Ryan says he does it and you do it too. So I like that way because when I finish a job, I just click reference all home and it moves up and backs out of the way, and then I can
My
take my
CNC mill,
workpiece off and and then when I come back to run it again, it's already there. So it's no problem getting it homed again. And Alan, I know you have a Onefinity also, so I guess you're a front lefter type of
I'm
person.
front left, and I generally use home. Occasionally, I will skip that step. Uh, if I were just, for example, just going to use the laser, I may skip it. But generally, my mentor, who is one of my sons, who knows way more about this stuff than I do, is always convinced me that that's a good thing to do. Uh, Dave, I thought your remark about we were having the conversation around an exciting topic was funny, because if you look on the social media, et cetera, and you search homing, you see a lot of people get emotional about that, and there's some strong feelings in both directions. And I've always found that a bit amusing.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, and
It's
I think I'm
go
sorry,
ahead,
Dave.
Ryan.
I think the other important thing to think about is how you home, because yeah, I know you, me, and Clyde, we use switches, and the Onefinity doesn't use switches for homing.
It does not. It uses a stall current. And so when you tell the machine to home, it drops into that routine, and it begins to monitor the current on the steppers, and it's moving at a rate where it can accommodate watching that current, and then when the current goes up, it immediately stops. And by the way, that is tunable. You can adjust that and customize that to get the stall current just right, so you don't get such a big thump.
Yeah, let me real quickly acknowledge JR here. He's hit me up with a super chat again. JR, you're too kind, my friend. Thank you very much. I certainly appreciate it. Uh, now, Alan, and Paul, you can probably speak to this too. Does does it seem like you get good repeatability using that stall method rather than a mechanical switch or maybe a proximity switch?
Dave, I think you do. Uh, again, there is within the controller firmware, there you have the ability to adjust that current, and from what I can gather, it's pretty repeatable, very repeatable.
That's what I
Okay.
would say too, is that it seems to be spot on every time, the exact same place.
Okay. Well, I have the whole spectrum here in this garage. I have a little machine over here that does not have any homing switches at all. I've got my Gatton CNC right here that has mechanical limit switches. And then behind me, I've got the Avid CNC, which uses the proximity type switches. And I can run any of them. It doesn't really matter to me. The little one over there that doesn't have any switches at all, that is my oldest machine. I've had that thing since it's one I built. I've had it since about 2007, and I've never put the switches on it. And uh, but as far as, as long as we're talking about homing, whether it's right rear, left front, left rear, wherever you want to put it, it really, really doesn't matter. As long as that machine knows where it's at. And that's really what homing does. It lets the machine know that, hey, this is where all machine coordinates start from. And in my case, and in Ryan's and Clyde's, since they're in the back right, all our coordinates are going to be back in the negative direction. With this Avid back here, it homes like Paul and Alan's to the left front. So everything is going to be to the positive direction going that way. But the big thing is that when you home a machine, it knows where it's at so that everything else can work. You can run a machine, like I mentioned, without any homing switches at all. But if I want to run something like soft limits, I still have to tell it where home is. Because if I just bring it to the center of the table and I hit reference all home, which without switches, that just turns everything to 0. And then I turn on, well, actually, it probably won't let me turn on my soft limits. And if it does, it's going to crash into the end because it thinks it's got this much room, but it's, it's only got that much room if it's in the center. So I guess you'd call it manually homing. I usually bring it, and in that case, I usually bring it up to the front just because I can look right down. And that one's got a steel frame, so I just bring it up until it touches the frame, and bring the X all the way over until it's about to touch the frame, and then I can just hit reference all home, which turns those to 0s, and then I can run it with soft limits. Although normally I don't use those either. I don't know. I've run these things for a long time, and I just know how big things are, and I know whether it's going to fit or not. And I've just never used the soft limits, but I have them set. If anybody wants to see how they work, I can show you.
So Dave, I have a question for you. You asked about the repeatability for Onefinity. What are you finding with the Avid with the proximity switches?
Well, if I put a, like say a 60-degree V-bit or something real pointy so that I can get a mark, I could set my 0 and, get it, put a little mark and set it right on there. Or I could even drill a hole for that matter. I used to do that. I used to have a program when I ran the Gatton kits. I always had everything programmed from the center of the blank. And it just so happened, I've since changed that, so it doesn't work now, but it just so happened that where the bit was in the center happened to fall in a part that was in between parts. So it was on the skeleton part of the blank. So I had my program set up so that when I hit cycle start, first thing that happened is that thing would come down and do a little blind hole about 200 thousandths deep. And then that way, because when I first started doing these, I didn't have limit switches or homing switches on my Gatton CNC either. So, but I always made that mark so I could test it. So with the Avid, I feel pretty confident that I could set that 0 with, real pointy bit or with a 1/4 inch end mill and a little blind hole or whatever. And I could move it all around, home it, hit go to 0 again, and it's going to go right and fall right in that hole.
Okay,
So
good.
I have not had any problems at all. And it's a wonder because sometimes I'm not the, as you look around behind me here, you can tell I'm not the cleanest person around when it comes to keeping stuff clean. And sometimes I'll look and I'll think, man, like when I was cutting that resin the other day, that stuff went everywhere, and I'm like, man, it got all over the switches and stuff. So I wondered if that would affect them, but apparently it didn't. But they're very accurate. I can't complain at all. And as far as that goes, I meant to have one here. I've got one over here. I can show. If y'all hold on just 1 second, I'll grab one real quick.
I hope everybody saw Cody's comment there that I put up. There's no place like G28 X0 Y0 Z0.
Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah, I saw that.
All right, I had to untie my tether here. I'm got these earbuds in, and I'm tethered to the computer here. But this is the same kind, and these things are super cheap. Let me hit this like this for a second. This is these little bitty. I mean, you can buy these for. I think I buy them in packs of 6 off of Amazon, and they're. I don't know, probably less than $10 for 6 of them. They're really, really cheap. But I found that these work surprisingly well as far as repeatability and stuff. The big thing is here when homing a machine, and this is probably true with any kind of a machine. When homing a machine, you've got to keep it slow enough. You know, sometimes you may not like it because it's really crawling, but you want that when it hits that switch to be able to pull back off and be able to stop right when it clears that switch. So you don't want to try to do it going too fast, because if you hit these, and I also have these set up as an over travel. So if you hit that too hard, you can bend that little arm because it is pretty flimsy. And usually the ones that I screw up is on the Z. And that's the way I have mine set up. I have it where a screw head sticks out and catches that little roller. And sometimes if that screw backs out, it'll catch that thing and bend it right over. Let's see.
Turbo has two, it does it twice. It hits the limit switch fast and backs off. I can even set it. I got it set at 2 millimeters. And then it goes real slow, hits the switch and backs off 2 millimeters. I've checked the dial indicator, it's dead on.
Okay. Alrighty. Let me check out some of these comments. I see Ryan's got some tagged here. Here he says, I have good repeatability with my homing switches. If I break a bit, I can load a new bit, edit the G-code, rehome, and it will drop back in where the old bit was. Yeah. Yeah, and that's one of the big advantages to having homing switches. The other thing that I think is a really big advantage, and I see this all the time on the Facebook groups and some forums and stuff like that, but you always see the people who, I guess because they don't, I think they probably don't know how. I don't think it's because they can't do it. They just haven't been told how, I think. But they'll be on like a long 3D carb or something, and they'll just, their answer to being able to run it later is to just hit like a pause button, and they leave everything on and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know about all software, especially the Arduino stuff. I'm still fairly new to that with that Bob's Revolution that uses the Arduino stuff. But I know some of them have a thing where you can start from a certain line as long as you know what line it is. And with the software that I use for the Avid and my Gatton CNC is Mach 3. I've been using that for years. And it is really super easy to do. If you in the middle of a long carve or something and you want to stretch it out, say you got something that's going to take 10 hours and you come home from work and you're like, well, I only got a couple hours. You could run it 2 hours a night. As long as you, as long as you make sure you know what line number you're on when you stop, it's easy, really super easy to do. And no need to leave all that stuff on and all that. And of course, even if you've got like a home built machine or something and you don't have homing switches, you can still do that. Although it's probably a little tricky with the 3D car, but because even a little hair can make a difference on those things. But as long as you let it, like I said, if you know where home is, even if you do it manually by bringing it all the way up and touching it against the frame or whatever, and then make that your homing place, and then you know what your G54 offset was or whatever it is, even if you just write it down and you can manually move it to that spot, you can take up and right where you left off without any issues. Let's see. We've got some more questions over here. We might as well take these questions. Rob says, many people mix up home and limit. They are related, but not the same. I have magnetic homing switches, but not limit switches. Software limits my machine from crashing. Yeah, I think a lot of people do that. They will use the soft limits versus the limit switches. Now, as Rob pointed out, there is a difference. Mainly when you think of a limit switch, it's setting a limit, or it's in most commercial things, when you get in there, it's called an over travel error. It means it went too far and it hit that switch. And it's going to prevent it from banging into something and doing damage. Now, depending on your software, I guess, I can only speak to what I know, like Mach 3, Mach 4, and UC, CNC software. You can actually have the same switch, and I do on my Gatton. I only have 3 switches. I have one on the top of the Z so that it can go up and home. I have one on the right side of my upright there so that when the X comes over, it hits that one. And then when the Y goes back, I only have one, and it's on the right side as well. But you can also, in Mach 3 and the UC, CNC, and Mach 4, those kind of software, you can set them up to be both. You can tell it that same switch is a limit switch and a homing switch. So you can use them for dual purpose. But like I said, I very, very seldom ever hit a limit switch. Usually if I do, it's, like I said, that screw that I have there is backed out, and it's on the back side of my machine, so I don't see it. And that's about the only time I've ever had it. When that screw backs out, it will trip that thing a little earlier when it goes up. Let's see, Michael Shark says, homing switch is a must for me. I can turn the machine off, come back next day and home it and know where my zeros were. Yep. Yeah, like I said, they're, you don't have to have them. And I didn't have them for years when I had that little machine. But once I finally put them on a machine, I thought, man, this is the stuff right here. It makes it so much nicer to do it that way. Wade says, my Y has 2 proximity switches, one for the A and one for the Y, so it squares the gantry. Yeah, that's another good point. I don't have that on my Gatton CNC, but my Avid CNC, if you look on both sides, yeah, I don't know, you can't really see it because I'm sitting in the way, but there's a proximity switch on each side. And in the back there's only one. So, and actually what I might end up doing to that one, because that's a great little machine, but I really like being able to just get done with something and hit reference all home, and it comes up and moves back out of the way. So I may take one off and switch everything around so that it homes to the back right, like my Gatton CNC. I've had that thing now for a little over 2 years, and that was my original plan, to set it up to where it go that way. And then I thought, well, I'll just follow the directions and do it just the way they say, and then I'll worry about changing it later. And so far later never has come up. So, let's see, here it says, mine has homing switches which act as limit switches at 0, X, Y, and Z. There's nothing to keep you from running off at high values at X, Y, and Z. Okay, I guess what he's saying, that when you say running off, I guess if you're going too fast, that's what I'm thinking. I have not as a mistake, but as a test, I've run mine back pretty fast, and it usually cuts off right pretty quick, even with the little cheapy mechanical switches I have there.
I've always been a bit amazed at how quickly it can stop. You would think the momentum would carry it over, but they seem to stop on a dime. So,
well, I think that's probably more true because your machine, the Onefinity, has ball screws, and my Gatton CNC has lead screws. So once you cut the power to those stepper motors, they're no longer turning, and there's really no momentum to keep those things turning. Now, if you have a belt-driven machine, I can see where that would be a real problem, where you'd hit something and, it might not stop so quick. I don't know. Let's see here. Here he's got another comment here, I think. It's good repeatability homing switches. Okay, that's the one I did a while ago. JR says, I'm curious how many people home their workpiece by way of a mechanical touch-off plate versus eyeballing, and like the paper method for Z. I always use touch-off plate personally. All right, well, we'll take a quick informal poll here. If you are a paper method guy for the Z, and you eyeball the X and the Y, put that in the comments here. We'll kind of take an informal poll. We'll go around the room here. Ryan, what about you? You eyeball when you're setting your workpiece, work coordinates?
No, I have a scrap of aluminum that I use as a touch plate.
Okay.
Definitely.
What about you, Paul? Do you have the
I use the touch plate.
okay. Clyde, how about you?
No touch plate yet. Piece of paper for my Z, and V-bit, I eyeball a center line or whatever.
Okay. Okay, and Alan?
I'm always a touch plate guy. I
Okay,
hate,
and that's for all three axis?
yes, generally.
Okay. Okay.
For what they
Well-
charge for that touch plate, I'm going to use
I
it.
find
Yeah, I get what you're saying, Paul, because I ordered the and I'll show it here. I think I think I might be able to reach it. Let's see if I can do it without getting all tangled up here. This is the one on the Avid. Let's see if I can do this. This is the one on the Avid, which is probably very similar to the one you guys use on the Onefinity. It's got the lip here so that if you want to put it on the corner piece and do the X and Y, and then you can do it like this if you're just doing the Z. And the nice thing about this one, it's spring loaded too. So if you forget to stick this on there, this has got a magnet, which makes it nice because you can just stick it on the collet. But if should you forget to put that on and you hit it and it starts coming down, you've got a few seconds to hit the OS button without doing any damage. But I'm going to confess, I don't remember how much of an add-on this was. I know it was pretty pricey, but I have yet to use the corner thing for the X and the Y. I'm a Z kind of guy. Most everything I run is where I'm running it out of a skeleton. Even if I'm using a good piece of wood and doing something, I usually always make sure that my workpiece is bigger than what my final thing is going to be. So in that case, now, of course, you don't want, when you put it on there, you don't want it to be like this. You want to get it straight. But when you're cutting it out of a skeleton, it really doesn't matter. Eyeballing is always going to be good enough for that. But I do like to use the plate for the Z just because it's, you can't get more accurate than that as long as you've got your script set up correctly so that you have the right thickness, and you just can't beat it. I've used the paper method like Clyde was talking about. I've used that for a long time, and I got by doing that. But now the old eyes aren't as good as they used to be and stuff like that, so it's a little easier just to use that there. And on my Gatton, I use it again only for the Z, and it's nothing more than a piece of aluminum angle with a couple of wires stuck to it, and that's how that works.
Yeah, I think that as soon as you set up to be able to use some sort of touch plate, you set it up one time, and after that, you'll never ever want to touch a piece of paper for that purpose ever again. And it's so simple. You don't have to think about it. You just stick the puck under there and let it touch off and go. If you're using an end mill or something, it's not that hard to get pretty dang close with a piece of paper. But if you're trying to use a V-bit, it's really hard because that thing is so pointy that, it's moving, and then it's, then you're ripping it to get it out. So it's like there's no happy medium.
Feeler gauge with the V-bit, and it doesn't poke a hole through the paper.
Oh, okay. All right.
5 thou feeler gauge, and I know I'm 5 thou pounds of material, but on my milling machine, I use an edge finder or a dial indicator.
Okay.
That's because it doesn't have a ground, because the whole machine's metal. They don't have a touch point for that.
Okay. Gotcha.
I'm always going to get one for my Gatton, but I just haven't got around to it yet. That's a good idea, though.
Okay. Well, I was the same way, Clyde, when I was cranking out Gatton CNC kits with that one, and I just never took the time to make one. And then finally I thought, well, you know what? I think I'm going to do it, because I had put one on an old Garage Works that I had back around in the other shop. And after I did that, I thought, well, yeah, that's not that hard. It won't take me 5 minutes to do it. So after I did it, and it just stays over there on the side of the machine with the alligator clip and just a piece of aluminum angle, it works fine. I didn't go back and check the live comments here. Let's see how many people were saying.
It was about 50-50 as far as in paper or touch. Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's see where do I leave off here. Another question here. For stuff like multi-pour epoxy, work limit switches are just about a must. I turn to turn on the machine over a number of days with repeatability. Okay, I'm assuming you mean homing switches, being able to home it and then go back to, because I did that same thing when I was running an epoxy thing. I left it out here all week, just did it right on the machine. And, you know, but I didn't leave anything on. I cut it off every night and come back out, homed it, hit the G54, you know, go to 0, and boom, went right where I wanted it to. So Leo says Mach 4 has a start from here also. I use homing also, yeah. Dan says, I home and have a touch plate, but when I use the touch plate, the router is always an inch above my project. I know what I'm doing wrong. Okay. I wonder if he meant I don't know what I'm doing wrong,
think
or I
he
know
means that he didn't know what he was doing wrong.
Okay. Well, first you have to make sure that your touch plate is the exact thickness that's in the script, because that'll mess it up too. I mean, that's just got to be right. You have to have that correct. JR says Alan and or his son have some experience with high-end metal milling equipment. How do those types of machines handle homing? Is it an option to skip it?
It is not an option to skip it. JR is referring to my youngest son, who has a CNC machine that he uses in his business, a mill. And when you turn that machine on, it's going to home, or you're not going to use it. So,
Yeah, and from what I know about those type of milling machines, you don't want to skip home. It could make for a really bad day, because, you know, it's one thing for one of these machines to break a bit and sling something at you, or maybe sling an inside of a circle or something that you're cutting out, slinging that at you. But man, you get to messing around with them bigger tools, and they come through the side of that. That's why those things are always enclosed. Not just for it's not about dust and chips. It's a lot about safety with those things. Let's see. Here he says, I bought a digital Z height micrometer. First time I went to use it, my Z jog was too coarse, and I jammed the bit into the micrometer and broke it. Oh man, that's not a good thing. Pete says, I have an Avid touch plate, ran the control wire to the Z, and wired the magnet lead to the spindle case. Works every time, and very convenient. Okay. Yep. Speaking of, somebody mentioned micrometers. I just thought I would mention this, and I'm not trying to sell anything because I don't make anything off of these. But I did a video. A company sent me these the other day, some 6-inch digital calipers, and I'll pull them out of here and I'll show you why I really like these. And the reason I'm telling y'all about them is because if you want to go check out the video that I did, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 days ago, something like that, whatever it's been now, is the discount code that they gave me to offer my viewers expires April 15th, April 15th, I think is what it is. So anyway, I really like these because they have a really big display. So that works pretty good. And for banging around in the shop and stuff, I think these were $29.99 regular price, and with the discount code and everything, I think somebody said they got them and they were under $20. So it wouldn't be bad to have a pair like this to bang around the shop with. Like I said, if you knocked them off and ruined them or something, you're not going to be losing much. But I
So
do
Dave,
like them.
it looks like those have an auto on and auto off function, which is
They
mighty
do.
handy.
They do. In fact, I didn't realize when I first started shooting that video that it had the auto on, and I kept hitting the button. But then after a minute, I thought, well, wait a minute, I just moved it and it came on. And then I read the thing. And of course, if you read the directions, it'll tell you that it has an auto on. And then they claim that, and they also provide an extra battery. That's what you hear rattling around in here.
And don't
It
those
uses
use a different, bigger coin battery, 2032?
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's the 2032. And they say that it'll shut off after about 5 minutes, an auto shut off. And I even in the video,
in my shop,
Yeah.
and I come and I find them, they've been on for 3 days. And I'm really frustrated that they don't shut off themselves. They have an on switch here.
yeah,
But if you don't remember to turn it off, you'll come back several days later and it's still working away. So I like that automated on-off business.
well, I decided to, in the video, I show where I'm doing a test. I turn the caliper on, and then I have my phone set up with a timer, and I just hit the button and see how long it took. And it took right about 5 minutes and 40 seconds. So pretty close to what they say. They say about 5 minutes. And I really wanted to test that because I thought, well, you know, if you push the button and turn it off, and then as you're putting it in the case, you wiggle it and it has the auto, now it's on again. So if you set them in the case and you don't realize they're on, if they didn't have that auto shut off, you know, I'm not a big fan of stuff with batteries. And that's why I've always read dial calipers, but my old eyes are just getting so bad where I can't see those I can't read anything without my glasses, but those I can. So like I said, I'm not trying to do a sales pitch here, but I thought I would just mention that because that discount code, you know, for less than $20, you can't beat them, and it will expire in a few days. So
And that screen's big enough you could probably watch YouTube on it.
I couldn't, but younger people probably could. I watch YouTube on my 65-inch TV in there. That's how I roll with YouTube.
Well, with those digital ones, the digital caliper, so you can still read it like a normal, you know, caliper too, because it still does have all the measurements on the side. At least the one I have does.
Yeah, and that one does have where you can do the decimal, the fraction, or the metric. You put it in millimeters. Now the fraction I'm not that crazy about because depending on how you do it, it might say something like 13/128 or something, you know, and my brain don't think that good. So those old solar calculator manufacturers were still around, made calipers with the big screen, we'd all be satisfied. Yeah, I have one of those calculators, by the way. All right, I got one more question I want to ask. And I have never seen it anywhere. I even searched it on YouTube the other day, and I couldn't find a single thing about it. So I'm really curious. Does anybody here who is somewhat familiar with G-code, has anybody used the M47 command or an M47? Does anybody know what an M47 is?
I'm going to look it up.
Well, it's a machine code. That
Well-
is the machine code, but I don't know what it is.
I guess it's kind of an obscure code because I have I don't have it printed out, but I downloaded the G-code manual for Mach 3. And when you search that manual, it doesn't even reference it in there. It has M43 and all the ones above it and below it, but it doesn't mention M47. But I thought I might, yeah, it is a tank. In fact, if you Google it or if you put it on YouTube in the search, that's what you find. all those tanks. But anyway, in M47, and the reason I'm pointing this out, and you shouldn't use it. I'll tell you right now, you shouldn't use it unless you really know what you're doing. But I have a little example set up here that I will, in fact, I think this thing is still set from, all right, I will, this might get a little noisy, but there's my machine, and I'm going to add this Mach 3. Now, you're not going to be able to see the machine that great, I guess, with that view. I don't know if I can get it any better than no. Okay, maybe if I do this. No, I'm trying to figure out how to get the screen. All right, it's up there in the corner. But anyway, this is a sample program, and I'm going to hit this. The spindle's not going to come on, but I'm going to hit this, and we'll let it run. If it's too noisy, let me know, and I'll cut it off. But just imagine if you had. This is what a program is. Imagine if you were trying to run production and you had this fixture with 6 different things. Maybe you're making coasters or something's not right there. Well, maybe it is. Making that weird.
Something not right, Dave? Did you home it?
Yeah, it was already home, but it's been home. It's been sitting here idle for a long time. So I think it's okay. I don't know why it's making that loud squeal. But anyway, if you set things up like this, now I've got this. I just put numbers in here, but it's going to run 1 first, then 2, then move over to 3, then down to 4, then over to 5, then up to 6. And this shouldn't take that long. I mean, I'll show it on this screen. Maybe you can see it a little better. I should have ran it on the Avid. It would be quieter. Okay, now you can see, looking at this screen here, it's done 1, 2, 3. It's down here at 4. Now it's going over to do 5. It's only making that noise when the Z's going down. Doesn't do it going up. And it wasn't doing that earlier, so I don't know what it is. Okay, now it's going up to do the 6th one. And home, by the way, or the work coordinates, was in the center of the material. So right where my mouse is, right in here. Okay, now it's done. Okay, so I'm going to stop it there. That is what an M47 does. And if, like I said, if you look in the Mach 3 manual, there's no mention of it. The only place I ever see it is if you come right here, you'll see where it says M47 repeat program from first line. So I'm always curious if anybody ever uses that, because if you're running something where you need to keep that machine running, because we all know that's how you make money with these things, is keeping them running. And say you had a big batch of, I don't know, coasters or whatever you were doing, but they all had really quick cycle times. You could sit there and put that M47 in, just to show you how I did that. I basically put parentheses around what was the last line, which was an M30, and then added another line and put M47. And that thing will just run and run and run till you shut it off. Now, the reason I say you need to be careful and really paying attention to what you're doing, because if you noticed, it did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. But when it finishes here, it's coming back this way to start over at 1. So the whole idea about this is, if you have a fixture where you have these set in, as it runs this one and moves here and then moves over here, you can go ahead and swap these two out, either flip them over or replace them with a new blank or whatever you're doing. And it's a really good way to run production and cut down a lot of time, as long as you have, because you can be over sanding something else. If each one of these takes a couple of minutes, you know that you could even wait till it starts that last one, then go over there and replace these 5 real quick. But you don't really lose any time waiting on the thing to start, spin back up. It just keeps on going and going and going. But I always wondered about that, because I've never heard of anybody else using the M47. I've used it a couple times on some stuff like that. And I know we have some folks that I see on Facebook and the forums and stuff like that, where or even YouTube, where they're doing tons of coasters or some little project, and it may not even be a router. It may be where they're putting laser engraving on something in doing that. But I have found through my testing, I haven't been able to get the M47 to work on anything but Mach 3, Mach 4, and UC CNC. I cannot get it to work with an Arduino. If I try to run it, it just says code not found, or it just ignores that code. I guess if you tell it to ignore it, or if you have it set up to throw up an error, it'll throw up an error. So
it would have to be in the G sender.
Yeah, and I don't think any of those have that set up, apparently. Like I said, it must be kind of an obscure. Okay, Rob said he just Googled it, not supported by Linux CNC. Yeah, I mean, it's not something you would use all the time, but you can see where if you had just the right project and had a bunch of things you needed to get out real quick. I used it when I have a fixture down there where I put it on my table and I engrave Gatton CNC on both of my left upright and right upright. And then I have to take them and flip them over. So if I've just got one set, I can't, when it finishes this one, I can't pull that one up and put the other one over there, because it's this one that I have to flip over. But if I have a whole batch of those to do, then I can run one side of them like that, and the other side once I get one done. And it just really saves a ton of time, because like I said, the machine never shuts off. But you do have to be aware that where that thing's going to move, you need to know the sequence. But let's see. Leo says, I don't use M47. I use the O for the body of the program and change the work coordinates for each part. Okay. Marcelo
Yeah,
says.
Rob also says something in reference to that too. That you can do it. You can do it in Linux CNC, but you do O12 repeat.
Oh, okay,
And then-
okay. So you're just kind of like setting up a macro or subroutine to just tell it to run
Yeah.
so many times. Yeah. See, this will just, there's no limit. You put that in there, it's gonna run till you make it stop. So, all right. Let me check my notes here. We didn't cover some of the things I had wrote down, but we'll save those for another day because we got a Genie bit to give away.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
I'll show this again just in case anybody wasn't here early on when I did it. But again, tonight's giveaway is sponsored by Cadence Manufacturing and Design, my good friend Cody Elkins. And we are giving away tonight oops, I can get my stuff working here. We're doing the Downtown Genie. Downtown Genie.
Look how pretty that is.
It is pretty, isn't it? And I have one right here in my hand, slightly used. But this isn't the one we're giving away. We're giving away. But I used this one the other day. They work like a dream. And thank you, Cody, for sponsoring this giveaway. So let me show it one more time. If you want to get in on the drawing, I'll be getting it set up over here on this other page. We need to put hashtag downtown. That'll be the hashtag that the giveaway stuff is looking for. And I'm setting it up right now. Alrighty. Start collecting comments here. Let's see. All right, I'll go ahead and post this over here so everybody can see. We'll give you a few minutes to get entries in for this. And anything else anybody wants to add? I didn't, let's see what else. I didn't show the soft limits. I can show them. I actually, whenever I show soft limits, I always have it set up with the slow thing. I make it really big so that it's real obvious that you can see that it's slowing down. They work great. I just never. In fact, they had them set up in the Avid when I got it in the, because I got the machine profile. You go, when you get an Avid, you go to their website and you tell it what size machine you have, what options you have, and all this, and then they have a machine profile already set up. And I didn't realize they had the soft limits on there. And then I noticed it one time when I was demonstrating them on the Gatton, and I thought, well, let me check them out. And they work really good on there too. And they had, I think, I want to say a 2-inch slowdown thing. So it's not like it comes up, because that thing goes fast. So you need a little bit more of a slowdown. All right, we're looking for hashtag downtown in the drawing here. You got some still coming in. So get it in now while you can.
The way that I do my switches, Dave, it's maybe I guess I'm doing a little bit differently than what everybody else does, because when I set up a little macro, so I know what my overall dimensions of my machine are, And so when it goes back to that corner, and I have it set to be those specific dimensions. So even if I put a 0 somewhere in the middle of the board, it goes back to the right. When I home it, it changes it back to it's like 1350, on the X or Y, and the X is 900, whatever it is. And then so when I hit G0, the G0 code, it comes all the way up to that front left corner, and so I'm always operating in the positive as far as in my coordinates are concerned.
Wait a minute. Say that again.
Yeah, so like the way I have mine set up, it changes when it goes back to that back corner. That's not 0 back there in the corner. That is, 1300 and 900. And if it's not, it changes it to that. And then so that it brings it up to the front to 0. I'll show a little bit
Yeah,
about
you
it.
lost me because if you're, think of the Cartesian coordinates. If you're in that top right, anything coming down this way should be negative. If it zeroes out there. Now I'll show you while we're waiting on some more things to come in. If you look right here, this is my soft limit setup, and you can see that my soft limit is negative 48.25, which is all the way to the left. 0 to the right, because that's where my 0, 0 is when I home it. Same thing with the Y. It's minus 39. I actually could make it more, but I never use that back part of the table anyway, so I always keep my homing switch a few inches forward. So, but you see how mine's all negative here. And the same way, if I, we'll just do this. We'll home it. And if I turn on the machine coordinates, you can see how it's negative now, but it's going towards 0. I probably could speed that up a little bit. It's really slow, but I don't, like I said, I don't ever worry about it, because when I get done working, I hit that, and I don't care how long it takes, because I'm busy unclamping my stuff and getting the shop back out and all that kind of stuff. So,
Yep.
But see, you can see it right now. The X is the only thing left, and it's at minus 10 and going back towards 0.
Mm-hmm.
The X and Y don't go together on the home?
What's that, Clyde?
The X and the Y don't home together, like both go at the same time for homing?
No, they home separately.
Oh,
Okay, so now you can see I'm at 0, and if I hit work coordinates, it's 25 and 16 and 3 or 2, but that's from where it was, where that last work thing is. Like if I'm gonna move it up just a little bit. Now if I hit this go to 0, that's where it was when I hit reference all home. But see, now when I hit machine coordinates, everything is always going to be in the negative from the machine 0, because I'm in the
that works the same as
upper
the
right hand
number.
corner. So I don't know. And you mentioned big numbers too. So I guess you're doing millimeters with yours, Ryan?
Yeah.
Okay, let's see what we got. We got 28 entries. And probably. You ready to do it?
Yeah, do it.
Okay, here we go. Good luck, everybody.
Dun, 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 dun. Here it comes. Big money, big
Larry
money.
Brown. Larry Brown. He's, I don't know if he's still out there or not, because he might have done it when I first done it. Larry, if you're out there,
Congratulations, Larry.
congrats. And you will need to contact, let me get the thing back up here. Go to the website here, www.cadencemfgdesign.com. Contact Cody and let him know that you were the winner, or I will be, I think he's out there watching anyway. I think I saw him out there in the chat earlier. But just go to there and tell him you were the lucky winner of a downtown Jenny. Congrats. All right.
JR says downtown Larry Brown.
Oh, yeah, there he is. He's here. All righty. Downtown Larry Brown. Yeah. All right. Well, those are fun. I really like that giveaway tool. That thing is it's pretty cool. And it's so easy to set up. That's what I like about it. You don't have to, before I've done those things where you have to fill in everybody's name on the little spinny wheel and thing. But this, you don't really have to do nothing. Just put in the hashtag and tell it to collect them, and boom. Easy peasy. Yep. Easy peasy. All right. That's probably about all I got. I don't guess we have any more questions. Let me double check those and see if I. Okay. JR says, panel and audience, do you find mechanical or prox switches to be more accurate? I got one of each, and I would say it's 6 of one, half a dozen of another. And I would assume, like I said, I'm surprised the accuracy mine has, and it uses these little bitty cheap ones. I can only imagine if you had a better mechanical switch, but it doesn't take much, especially for these machines. There's not much going through there. So, righty. Yeah, there's
Good times.
There's Cody. I thought he was out there.
Yep. Cody's out there.
All righty. Well, thanks again, Cody, for donating that bit for the giveaway. That's a lot of fun, and kind of makes the end of the show worth waiting for, doesn't it? All right, I guess we're going to get out of here. If anybody's got any show suggestions, topics or questions they want to ask, especially, I keep saying this, if you have something that you want me to demonstrate on any kind of machine, even a rotary thing, I can do it. I just, because of the having to set stuff up, it's nice if I know ahead of time. So if anybody's got something specific they want me to demonstrate on a machine, let me know. Put it in the comments and all that, and I'll be happy to do that. I can't think of anything I wouldn't be able to do, because I've got 4 machines out here, so I can surely find one of them that'll run it right. But anyway, I guess we're going to get out of here. Mark says, I've only used mechanical, and they do wear out. Yeah, anything mechanical will eventually give it up. And especially these little cheap ones like I have. But I'm surprised the one, I think the only one I've ever replaced, the one on the Z. The other 2 are the same ones I put on there several years ago. All right, we're going to get out of here. Everybody have a good weekend. And like I said, if you got something you want to see or a topic you want discussed, or if you'd like to join, I don't know why it's still showing that machine. You'd like to join us on the panel here, everybody's welcome. All you got to do is let me know you want to come on. And you see, I think I've got room for, what somebody say, 12 or something. But, I think we do 4 or 5 like this is a good group. And anybody's welcome. All you got to do is let me know if you want to come on. And thank you again, Ryan, for your help with the chat. I appreciate you, buddy. Thank you, Alan, for coming in. Well, it's good to see you. Paul, thank you. And Clyde, thank you. I know you look like you're cold sitting out there. I'm all bump. What's that?
Well, I had to turn my furnace off because it makes too much noise out here.
Oh, okay.
Turn my heat off because it makes too much noise.
Yeah.
It's
All
starting to
right.
get
Well,
cold now.
Clyde's taking one for the team. I just bundled up, put an extra sweatshirt on because I knew it was going to get cold as I set out
I
here.
got my
We're
earmuffs on.
supposed to have frost tonight of all things. So anyway, we're going to get out of here. Everybody have a good one, and we will see y'all next week. I get the right button.